Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are so happy that you are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Be sure to join us on social media. Facebook.com/Reading with Your Kids. On Twitter, it's @JedleyMagic. And on Instagram, it's Reading with Your Kids. We are really excited to welcome back one of our favorite guests, Sheri Fink. She is here to celebrate her brand new picture book, The Little Dragon. You know, one of the things that I am really excited about is that in just a few weeks, I get to meet Sheri Fink in person. That's right, Sheri will be part of the Orange County Children's Book Festival. She will have an author table at the festival along with her husband, Derek Taylor Kent. And I am so excited because I will be there too. The Reading with Your Kids podcast will have an exhibitor booth at the Orange County Children's Book Festival, the largest children's book fair in North America. It's happening in Costa Mesa, California on October 6th. In addition to saying hi to Sheri, you can also come to our booth and say hi to me and say hi to some of the guests who will be dropping by our booth. Lisa Caprelli, the author of Unicorn Jazz, says she'll be here. Helena Baylor says she'll be dropping by. Marla Huma and the author of Bello the Cello, Dennis Matthews, said he's going to be making an appearance too. Oh, speaking of appearances, you don't want to miss my magic show. I'll be performing on the Illustrator stage around 12:30 and also around 2:30. Like I said, you know how fairs are. You make a schedule and then there's life. You can also be part of a future episode of the show. We'll be interviewing some kids and parents, and it's just going to be a whole lot of fun. October 6th, Costa Mesa, California, the Orange County Children's Book Festival. We also want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by The Present is a Gift by our friend Elhanan Ogorik. This is a wonderful book. In fact, it is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. The Present is a Gift. It's a children's picture book written and illustrated by Elhanan Ogorik that teaches children focus and mindfulness through the observation of mindful animals practicing yoga. This book is a wonderful resource for parents and caregivers on how to raise children with an understanding of the importance of love, kindness, gratefulness, and respect, and also learn some informative facts about the featured animals. Really is a wonderful, wonderful book. Check out our blog about the book. Just go to readingwithyourkids.com and search The Present is a Gift. The book is also available on Amazon.com. It's The Present is a Gift by Elhanan Ogorik. It's a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Joining us on the line right now from Los Angeles, California. I am so excited. This is absolutely one of my favorite guests to have on the podcast, and she is without a doubt my favorite mermaid in the world. Please welcome back to the show the author of the brand new book, The Little Dragon, introducing Sheri Fink. Sheri, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so honored to be your favorite mermaid.
That's right. You and I actually know a few, which is kind of weird. But you are my favorite mermaid, and the thing I like about you as a mermaid, and one of the things I like most about you, is that you actually tend to be mobile for the most part when you're a mermaid, or you have the possibility of movement when you're a mermaid. Some of the other folks that I know that are mermaids just kind of like lie on rocks and get their pictures taken.
Oh, yeah, I got things to do. I have to be mobile. It's part of the magic.
That's right. And you are doing some amazing things. You are the author of 9 children's books. The Little Dragon is your 9th children's book, and it's the 7th in your social emotional learning series. And we're really excited about that. As much as I love you as a mermaid, and as much as I love talking about you, what I love most of all is the fact that your little series, introducing us to all these little characters, it's a really empowering series, and they're little stories about little people with very powerful voices and very powerful messages.
Thank you.
Tell us about The Little Dragon.
Oh my gosh. He's so sweet. And like all my characters, he's so well-meaning, just like all children.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives a very solitary life. He's very happy in his meadow, and he loves to dance, and he's just a happy little guy. And then one day something changes, and he doesn't understand the change. And so he gets afraid and embarrassed and ultimately angry for the first time. And he doesn't know what to do with those big emotions. So he has to learn through a variety of missteps how to manage his anxiety and how to share and make friends instead of isolating himself. So I think it's a really great social emotional learning topic, because as humans, we all go through that learning phase, and some of us are still going through it, including myself. The stakes just change. That's it. The emotions are the same. But yeah, I'm excited to bring this story to kids and to hopefully give parents another tool in their toolbox in order to have these important conversations.
And these are really, really important conversations. And as you mentioned in describing the little dragon and what he went through, there are these powerful emotions that our kids experience, and as kids, they're experiencing them for the very first time. And we as adults know how hard it is sometimes to deal with disappointment, to deal with fear, to deal with feeling isolated and alone. And to be a kid and to feel that for the very first time, it can be overwhelming. And unfortunately, there are so many kids who don't ask for help. They just kind of lash out. And a lot of parents just react to that lashing out. They don't kind of go deeper to try to help the kid understand what they're going through. So I'm really excited that you have this. And as you said, can be another tool for parents to add to their toolbox. So very, very important.
Yeah, I'm really stoked, and people have been very excited about it. I've been receiving pre-orders for it for the past several months already. And whenever I talk to schools or parents, they're like, yes, we need that. So I'm happy that it's already finding an audience.
Well, it really is true. I mean, it's something that we dealt with, and I've shared this on the podcast before. We dealt with my son, and not just when he was younger, but when he got a little bit older. He was, disappointment, sadness, fear, all got jumbled up and felt like anger to him, and that's how it came out. And it's very difficult, because it's very difficult sometimes to empathize with our kids when all we're dealing with is this really very, very angry behavior. So as I'm hearing the description of the little dragon, I'm thinking that it can be a great learning experience for parents as well as kids, just helping parents understand that, hey, your kid's going through something really, really tough, and try to look beyond the fact that he's throwing pots and pans at you.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And teachers too, because in the classroom, it's really difficult, because you have so many kids, and they're, you may have a kid who's having an emotional reaction that day, and then it stimulates the dominoes that all the other kids are having reactions to that reaction.
Sure.
So I think, one of the things that was important to me in writing this book, and not that just it's adorable, is that he goes through, before he finds the way to express himself in a healthy way, he goes through the three major reactions that we go through naturally, which would be freezing, fleeing, and fighting. And once he exhausts all of those options, he realizes that didn't work. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about it is he meets another character along the way, and she's just not fazed by him. Mm-hmm. She's just so calm. And she, when he tries to create a wall around himself, so to speak, she just kind of giggles and reminds him hey, we're the same. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give it away, but it's like a really cute play on the way that unfolds for him. And he realizes, oh my gosh, you're right. And they end up becoming great friends. And I think that's how it works, right? You think everybody's different and nobody's mm-hmm. feeling the same thing. And then you realize, oh, we're all going through these things at different times.
Yeah.
So it's empathy, and it's a way to, just like with my other books, it's a way for parents and teachers to have difficult conversations about topics that you can't just bring it up directly necessarily, because then sometimes kids get defensive or they don't recognize themselves. But when you're reading a story together, it gives them an opportunity to be free, to see themselves through the eyes of the character. And then they learn a little bit from an empathetic standpoint more than just defending. So I'm just really excited about it.
I'm excited along with you. And as you're talking about it and remembering my son, going through this very, very difficult year and a half or so, I'm thinking how useful this Little Dragon book would have been for my son. Not that we would have sat down with this kid in 8th grade to read this book to him, but if we had had this book and suggested to him, hey, because he loved to volunteer and help out, hey, how about you bring this book into the kindergarten class at school and just read it to those kids? And I know it would have been throwing light switches on for him as he was reading this to the other kids, and he would have seen some of the stages that he was going through. And so I think it would have been very, very useful and could have helped us, help them out a little bit quicker. It could have helped us figure things out quicker than we did.
That's such a great idea. I love that idea. Because not only that, but he's helping the kids.
Right.
And they're learning from him. They're looking up to him. So it puts him in a position of respect. Oh, I love that.
That's, I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but for parents out there, I think that this is something. It's not a new idea because it's been around in the days of the one-room schoolhouse, and I'm not quite that old, but I'm close. But the older kids in the class would help the younger kids and mentor to the younger kids, and it's something that we've lost in a lot of schools, especially public schools, and when in my wife's school, she works in an urban school system, and some of the parochial schools that I performed at, and places where they try it, especially with the kids that are with the older kids that are having a hard time, when you give them an opportunity to, kind of go in and help younger kids, and like you said, become a role model. And get that respect from the younger kids. It really changes. It changes the younger kids' lives, but it really changes the older kids' lives.
Well said.
Yeah. So tell me, I'm trying to get your process together. You've written all these wonderful books: the little rose, the little unicorn, the little firefly, the little seahorse, the little gnome. Do you come up with a topic that you want to address first, or do you find the character and the story and the character story and the issue just kind of come through that character?
It's always the character.
Awesome.
Always. First. It's the Little Dragon. So I've been wanting to write a Little Dragon book since around the time the Little Gnome came out. So that was 2012. So it's a long time ago. But I didn't know what his story would be, and I had others that were like pushing ahead in line. So I was like, okay, well, let me clear the pipeline of these other stories, and then we'll see what his unfolds to be. And then it just felt very natural for me to write this story in the last 12 months. It just, when the time comes, they're ready, and you just have to be ready to receive it and then take action on it. And that's what I've done. And I'm so pleased with the way that the illustrations came out. Like when your fans see it, it's just, it just sings to my heart. He makes me so happy.
Well, I'm looking at the cover art for the Little Dragon, and it reminds me a lot. Not that I saw a dragon when I was down in Costa Rica, but it reminds me a lot of Costa Rica. It's the little dragons in a woods or a forest, and there are these beautiful butterflies, and we saw all sorts of beautiful butterflies when we're in Costa Rica, and we saw some creatures that if I didn't have a guide there telling me what it was, I might have thought was a dragon. But the Little Dragon is adorable.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there, now I know that this has been a character that's kind of been with you for a while. Is there someone that may have inspired the Little Dragon?
I think all of my characters have elements of me in them. And I remember, like, as a kid, I was super shy. I was very introverted. I'm still introverted, but believe it or not, But I felt like I was so scared of doing the wrong thing that I barely did anything. And I see kids like that. I can always recognize them because I see myself in them. And it's like they're trying so hard to be perfect or to do the right thing that they miss out on experiential things, you know? And I thought, what's the worst that could happen? Like if I had done one of those things and done it wrong, or if I had messed something up and gotten upset about it, right? Like I think it's better to try something and to learn from it than to never try. And so that inspired me. And also the little dragon loves to dance, and I love to dance too. So
talk about a little bit about that whole kind of getting outside your comfort zone. We've talked a lot here in the podcast about the fact that there are so many parents who love their kids so very, very much. They don't want anything to happen to them. And no parent wants anything bad to happen to their kids. They never want their kids to feel bad. They don't want them to feel lonely. They don't want them to feel failure. But it is a part of life. But there's some parents that are so overprotective and they don't let their kids become comfortable being uncomfortable. You're someone who admits that I'm still a little introverted. I'm still a little shy, but yet you go out. You're out in public all the time in multicolored hair, and oftentimes as a mermaid. And I know that there are probably times when you're going out that you're feeling that little uncomfort and that little tug to withdraw and be by yourself. How important do you think it is for parents to encourage their kids to step outside their comfort zone?
Well, I think it's important to nurture them. I really do. And I think their natural tendencies, I don't think you should diminish that or make it seem in any way that that's not good enough. But in order to, survive and be successful and thrive in today's world, I think it's great to develop a variety of skill sets. And for me, I always get scared about speaking on stage. I'll tell you right now, I never thought I would be a public speaker ever. And now I give hundreds of talks a year to thousands and thousands of people. But the difference is, before I go on stage, I get out of my own way. I tell myself, it's not about me. It's about them. And if I can brighten one person's day, if I can make one light bulb go on for one student, it's worth it. It doesn't really matter how I look. It doesn't really matter even the way I present it. It's just the intention behind it. People can feel. And I think as parents, remember that, tell their kids to always do their best and to just go out there and try. I mean, as a kid, I always wanted to do, adventurous things, and I stayed away from that because I was afraid I'd get hurt, or I was afraid I wouldn't be good enough, or, and I did lots of things, but they were all creation things, like art type stuff, and not expressive things necessarily. And that's okay. I liked the things that I did. And as an adult, I've embraced the other side of me. But I think, gosh, what if I had never put on that mermaid tail? How horrible would that be? But the more magic you can bring to the world, the more joy you spread, the more fun you have, and the more encouragement you get and you give. And that, to me, makes it all worth it.
I agree with you 100%. One of the things, my daughter has adopted one of my kind of philosophies, when you just go out there and you live, and when things go wrong, that's okay, because it's going to be a great story at some point in the future.
That's true. That's true. And life isn't infinite. And I've been reminded of this recently as we had a death in our family, and it's so sad. It's so heartbreaking. And the worst part is wow, I wonder what dreams she had that she never was courageous enough to go for. And I think about myself, and I'm like, look at my list. I'm going to go after her. I'm like, time is ticking. Let's go. I feel, of course, deep reverence for the loss, but I also feel inspired to fully live. And I think if we bless our kids, whether they're your own children or your teacher and the kids in your classroom or the kids in your community, with that gift to know that, hey, you can't really do this wrong. You really can't. You go out there and do it, and I'm going to love you no matter what. You know, some days you win, some days you don't. It doesn't matter. You're always winning because you're you.
Mm-hmm. That was such an important thing that we used to tell our kids when they were, whether it was a sporting event and they were going for the championship and they were nervous, or a dance competition, we'd just sit down with them and say, what's the worst that can happen? You can go out there and you can make a mistake, you can fail, but it doesn't matter because we're still going to love you in the end.
Yeah, I mean, even the day that you think you give the worst talk, mm-hmm. right? Someone is crying in the audience because you touched them on such a deep level. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, is everything. You know, you just show up and do your best. And those performance things, like I used to run track in high school, and I would literally be throwing up before every meet because I was so anxious mm-hmm. about the performance element of it. People are going to watch me run, you know, and I did very well. I wasn't excellent, but I did well. But I was so sick beforehand, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it have been fun if I could have just enjoyed that? Like, instead of making a whole drama about it all day.
Well, you're talking about dreams and encouraging our kids to dream. And you've achieved so many dreams. I'm wondering what kind of dreams you have still that you're looking forward to accomplishing.
Oh my gosh. Like I've got things like, visiting all the Major League Baseball parks in the U.S. and Canada. I've done half of them so far. I want to visit all the Disney parks in the world. I've done half of those so far. I've got things like that. I've got things I want to accomplish. Like I want to learn to play a song really well on the guitar. I don't need to be an expert on guitar. I just want to play one song really well. You know? Gosh, there's places I want to go, and there's things I want to do for my family. You know, Derek and I, my husband and I, want to start a family of our own. We just have so many more adventures to have, and it's exciting. You know, I have an adventure list, mm-hmm. and I try to actively plan those things. So it's not a coincidence when one or two of those get crossed off. It's like, no, we're going to do one a quarter. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. we're steadily working on it, and having a lot of fun along the way.
One of the reasons I ask you is not to embarrass you, but I think it's so important for us to encourage our kids to dream. There are so many statistics out there that say the kids who have dreams are happier, they do better in school, they're healthier, and it's the same with adults. So anybody that's out there listening, you know, follow Sheri's lead. Start, you know, building that list of your own dreams, of things that you want to do for yourself, things that you want to do with your family, and encourage your kids to have their dreams too, and because I think it's so very, very important.
Oh yes, and you know, when you have a compelling vision of your future, it pulls you forward. It shows you, like on a bad day, that there's another day, mm-hmm. that something good is coming. And I'm the kind of person, like, I always have to have some kind of fun and adventure in my future. So I will plan things in advance that I'm looking forward to, that I know are coming. Like, my husband and I took my sister and my nephew, who's now 13, to Club 33 at Disneyland. And we were planning that for 6 months. Awesome. And I wasn't telling them. It was a surprise. It was so hard to keep the secret. But I looked forward to that moment, like, for the entire period of time. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really good. And one of the things that I've done with my nephew and with some of my friends, my grown-up friends, is vision boards. Mm. And for kids especially, if they're artistic, if they're visual, it's so powerful to have them think, oh, what do I want? It could just be like a holiday wish list, but usually it starts with that, and then it goes beyond that, mm-hmm. to the kind of person they want to become. And you see their images that they, you know, find on the internet and print out, or the ones they clip out of magazines and they put it on their board. And then when things happen, you know, my little nephew, he's like, Sheri, this thing happened. Remember, I put that on my board. You know, it's really, it's kind of fun to do it together. So you're not telling them what to do. Mm-hmm. It's an activity you do together.
Excellent. And so how can parents get started helping their kids create a vision board?
Oh, well, I would suggest you schedule time to do it, and you get them excited about it, because they're going to feed off of your energy. Mm-hmm. And then you bring all the supplies. Like, you can bring a little piece of poster board. You can cut, depending on the age of the child, you can cut the poster board into segments so mm-hmm. it's not too overwhelming. And then you can bring a stack of magazines. A lot of libraries will, the older magazines, they will give them away for free. Mm-hmm. So you can go and say, hey, do you have any old magazines that you're looking to let go of? And they'll give you a huge stack. And then you go through them and as you're doing it, you can play fun music, you can order pizza, you can just talk about like, oh, remember we wanted to go to Disney World? I'm going to put Disney Castle on my vision board. And the kids will be like, oh yeah, me too. Oh, it would be cool to ride in this kind of a car, or wouldn't it be great if I got straight A's, or you know what I mean? Like whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And just, encouraging them. And when first time I did it with my nephew, he was so young. He wasn't even cutting stuff out. He was drawing things. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really, just really touching.
Yeah. Wow. This is a fantastic activity, and I encourage every parent out there to consider it and maybe start your own vision boards. Just, what a great decoration for your kids' room, for your own bedroom. I think it'd be really cool.
Oh, yeah. I have one in my office. I have them tucked in the closet doors, like places I see them all the time. Like I have multiples from the years that have gone by, and then all of a sudden one day I'll realize, oh my gosh, I achieved that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're all about promoting our visions and supporting our goals. And you mentioned your husband a couple of times, and he's been a guest on our show. Just real quickly, what is my friend Derek Taylor Kent working on these days?
Oh my goodness. You guys are in for so much fun. His new book comes out in a few weeks, and it is called The Grossest Picture Book Ever. And let me tell you, it earns that name. It definitely is. And we've done a few test readings of it, and it is hilarious. Like, it's so gross, but it's so funny, and people just have so much fun reading it. It's hard to get through a single page without cracking up laughing. I'm really excited for it. It's a picture book, and I just know that kids are going to love it.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to find out about that book, and we're really excited that The Little Dragon is available and folks can start sharing that with their kids and start learning from it. We're online. You and Derek have a fantastic website. Tell folks where they can go to find out all about your books and all about all the great products that you guys are entering into the world.
Oh, sure. You can go to whimsicalworldbooks.com. That's where we have all of our books. You can order them and have them autographed by us. You can even put the name of the recipient in the order, and we will personalize it to their name with a special message too. And we always throw a little bonus surprise in the package. So not only do you get mail, but there's something fun in there in addition to the book. We also have a line of lip balms that are in super fun flavors like bubblegum and watermelon, and the newest one is the Little Dragon, and he's in birthday cake flavor. So you can order a set of those on there, and we have enamel pins of some of the characters that are just so adorable. Lots of different ways for you to kind of bring those stories home with you. In addition to, of course, Amazon and children's museums and boutiques and places all throughout North America.
And what a really cool thing to just get your kids to have a connection with the author, to receive this book that they're going to fall in love with, but to have it autographed to your child. That is just amazing, and it's something that I'm imagining that a 3 or 4 year old that receives the Little Dragon that's been personalized to them, that's something that they're going to cherish and they're going to pull out and read to their kids.
Aw, that makes me so happy.
Absolutely. I just look back and I think of some of the first couple of books that I had, and if they were still around, and I've actually looked for them online, but if they were still around, I'd sit down and read them every once in a while, because kids' books, especially these books that touch us in the way that the Little Dragon will, and the way that the little Rose has, they touch us and they stay with us for a lifetime. So I'm really so happy that you're a friend of the show, and so happy that you're creating these books that are meaning so much to kids and families.
Thank you. Yeah. I love it.
What's next? We've the Little Rose, the Little Seahorse, the Little Dragon. What next little character are we going to meet?
Well, I'm not sure. I have a few potentials, but the thing that I'm most excited about writing next, and actually have been working on for a while, is a personal development book, actually, for grown-ups, a self-help book.
That's fantastic. Well, we can't wait for that to be available, and we hope that you will come back and let us know all about it.
I would love to.
We've been speaking to the author of the brand new book, The Little Dragon, the 9th children's book by our author, Sheri Fink. Sheri, thanks so much for being part of our show.
Thank you. A pleasure as always.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's really an important edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's about that time. The school year is underway. We're getting close to the end of the first marking period at a lot of different schools. And suddenly what was starting off to be this year filled with hope is like, there are some warning signs and there's some issues. And it's typical for a lot of families. And we have the perfect guest for this time of year. Dr. Ron Melmed is going to be coming back to the show. He'll be joined by his co-author, Caroline Bliss Larson. And they'll be telling us about Marvin's Monster Diary 2, Lisa ADHD, Emotion Explosion, but I triumph big time. Really is a wonderful insight into how we can support our kids to do the very, very best they can. That's the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you on the show. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands and thousands of people about your great children's book. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Click on the contact button. Let us know about your great book. We'll let you know the next easy steps. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so very, very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our friend, my favorite mermaid, the author of The Little Dragon, Sheri Fink. Check out all of her books at her whimsical world. We also want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. When you hear back from us about your great children's book, if you want to be a guest, it'll be Fatima that will most likely be contacting you. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. I want to thank Augie the doggy for having my back here in the studio. And I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, on Himalaya, on Podbean, on Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Tune in. Wherever you find your podcast, we can be found. And most of all, I want to thank you for making the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking through the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.